There's a lot of ways to generate business in real estate these days, and being intentional about who you're marketing to is very important. And Steve and Jennifer have created a niche within the senior community and people transitioning out of their homes into either assisted living homes or being closer to family. They've built a system around and a business around generating business and serving that community. And so if you want to hear how they've done that and what they do really to add value to people who are transitioning out of their homes, check out this conversation with Steve and Jennifer.
So we've talked a lot about you guys' past, right? So the future with Reach, you guys have had a lot of different, experience between the repos, the new construction, different things. Moving forward, what's your focus with Reach? I know we talked about this a little bit before. We talked about, basically, you guys have a lot of experience of dealing with a lot of different types of, whether it's clients, situations, markets, but where's a lot of your focus going right now? And let's talk a lot about that and the folks that you guys are helping and the certifications and stuff like that.
So I am loving just helping people with relationships and building relationships with my clients, because as you know, during the repo business, you didn't really have a relationship with anybody.
Not on y'all side, right? Because you guys are working with the bank side, which is a very black and white spreadsheet. Yes. You go do your part, we do our part.
I had a relationship crawling through doggy doors and, opening, popping locks and stuff.
But not with
more of a
people.
relationship with the houses you got to manage.
I am
baby.
a very people person. Yeah. I like helping people. Yeah. I am a servant and a giver at heart. Right. And so one of the things that is actually I'm seeing a need for right now, and it's actually coming to me, is I'm a senior specialist, real estate specialist. And so I am actually starting to get calls, says, hey, my parents are elder. I got to get them by me. They just can't.
So relocating, which is part of your past experience, right? The relocation part. But it's very different when you have a young professional or someone who's an established professional looking to relocate versus later in life.
Right.
All those things.
And a lot of these people, you've got to understand, they've been in their houses for 40. I mean, one of my clients.
Maybe they raised their families there.
40 years, they've raised their kids there. Their church is here. Their friends are here. Their life is here. And I can't, watch my dad, getting older, and it's just like hard to see. You can't do the things he used to do. And, but as, someone who has gone through it with my aunt and uncle and family members and now my parents, you're like, there's a point where you either do one or two things. The kids move to them or they move to the kids, or you find
outsource
a place.
To a third party.
Or outsource to a third party. So most people are like me, they're in their 50s. They have kids in college or they have responsibilities for their job. They can't just stop and move to take care of the parents. Yeah. So the parents are having to go to them. It's a very emotional time. Yes. And I really enjoy building the relationship and getting to meet with the parents I talk to the kids and they're like, and I say kids, they're my age. Adult children. And they're like, these are the needs and everything. And then, but the parent is the decision maker, and it's got to be their decision. So, a lot of times there's 2 to 3, 4 meetings with them and saying, hey, look, let's first, tell me what you're feeling, and trying to get them to talk and what are you thinking? And a lot of them are like, well, I can take care of myself. And I'm like, that's good. And I just ask questions. And then it's amazing. Like the first one, they're all like, and then I ask questions. And the next time I meet with them, they're like, well, what would it look like if I did this? And then what my goal is to get them where they're excited about it, because I talk about our parents and different things. And I'm like, you're missing out on this and you're missing out. How do you feel when you miss, the dance recital with the grandkids or this or that? And then they're like,
getting the buy-in from them.
Well, I'm missing out on life. Yeah, let's get this done.
And I bring that perspective of working in the assisted living center, right? So I have, I worked with physical therapists, occupational therapists, the nursing department, the dietary department, the whole time. Activities were not just about giving fun things, right? We had to take into consideration their health. We had to take,
all of those things.
We worked with all these departments. And so that background coupled with, because we're both senior residential specialists, we're both got those designations. We have a unique viewpoint of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and then the psychology background, the teacher background, like all of that stuff. I mean, that comes into this because you have to get that buy-in. Otherwise, I mean, we all have seen someone who's stubborn and they don't want to change, right?
Yeah.
And it's, I mean,
Well, and also just like getting them to trust you because they're being 25 years younger
Yeah.
than them and trying to tell them they got to leave their house.
I can see Jared at a nursing home. I'm going to sit here until you bring me my oatmeal.
Yeah. I love
So
it.
I
no,
think,
Jared's sitting still.
yes, no, exactly.
Gotta have a little imagination for that one.
I think, going through my life, we did build up to where we're comfortable now. We've worked really hard. The thing I like about my career now is I can say no to a client.
Yeah.
I don't have to say
Absolutely.
yes.
Yeah.
And
That's
and
huge.
I have fired a client this year.
Absolutely.
And
He's saying amen over here.
there are some people that I don't want to work with. And when I talk to them, I'm like, well, let's interview each other. Let's see if we're a good fit.
Does that shock people when you say that you're basically interviewing them as a client?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I think it's important, right? Let's set that expectation.
yes.
I might not be the
absolutely.
right fit for you, but you may not be the right fit for me.
And I say
Exactly.
that, I use that language. I'm like, we need to make sure, I'm the right fit for you and you're the right fit for me.
Because you take a look at an attorney, they're not going to take every case that comes in their door. I mean, is
They
it with
shouldn't.
right?
Yes.
Is
That's
it
the
is
key
it
word.
in your wheelhouse? Is it really a client that you want to deal with? And as professionals, and sometimes I think some agents when they get into the business, they really don't have a good idea of what a professional is. Truly.
Well, they become a yes person because they're money motivated.
Right, exactly. And it's nice to be that point in the career. When you reach that point in the career, because there is a point, at first you kind of do. You take the deals because you have to get the experience, but there's a point in your career that
Early on in my career, I had some good advice given to me. And I don't know who it was, I don't remember. But they said, if you go into a house and you can't get excited about selling that house, you will never sell that house. And it is so true. If I go in and I'm like,
Right? You're like, I'm already hating this.
I'm like,
it happens.
and I go in, who do I know I could refer this to? Because I have early on in my career, I would take them and I'm like, okay, I'll list the house. I never sold
and it's
it.
usually not the house, right?
It's not the house.
Right. So my mentor told me, he said, there's no such thing as an impossible deal, only impossible
Exactly.
people. It's generally the people, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what makes it complicated. We've all dealt with complicated real estate, but it's the complicated people that
We
make it.
all have different personalities, and sometimes you don't fit with somebody's personality,
Right.
but there's somebody else that fits great with them.
So how does that circle back to the senior group that y'all deal with? I mean, how there's not going to be a connection with you and somebody who's in their 80s, right? I mean, how are you vetting that process with them?
Well, no, I mean, I deal a lot with 80-year-olds, and I don't have a
no, but
problem,
it's
but
like-
it's like certain one, yeah.
But
there
it would
are
also
certain-
depend on, the buy-in to the process.
Right, right.
I was fortunate enough that my parents made the decision on their own to sell their home and move into an independent living facility. But sometimes it's just like even a divorce situation. Sometimes it's a situation that you may not be fully equipped relationally to deal with that.
Yeah.
And so
One of my
the
favorite
buy-in.
ways to say is, stopping foreclosures for 10 years. So kind of like when you talk about, before people lose it, I tell people all the time, I've got the skills to help you, but I'm not going to fight you to do so.
Correct.
Exactly.
And that's
Exactly.
when you've got to draw the line in the sand. Now that came as a hard learned lesson because I helped a lot of people who were fighting me while I was trying to help them. And I mean, it's basically, you're
Been there.
they're
yeah.
drowning. You're forcing me to also drown with you because you're bringing me down with you. And it's one of those things, it's again, hard learned.
Yeah.
But it's just knowing that clear line in the sand.
But
of
there
like,
might be another agent or another
could be
investor
personality.
that can
yeah,
just go in there and do
absolutely.
a great job. So know when to refer that, know where your network is, know how to best serve that
But,
individual.
and look, and the point just to bring this whole thing home, this point of this segment of the conversation is for you guys to let people know, like if you're dealing with somebody who's in that stage of their life and they need to transition,
Absolutely.
and you don't feel like you're equipped to do that, y'all have the
will
experience
help them.
in several different ways,
Well,
and there's referral
yeah.
fees that can be paid in order
And
to
there's
let you guys
some
do that.
people
Yeah.
who don't like that because, and I'm sure you can vouch for this, is when you're helping with someone, there's a lot of hand holding.
Yes.
There's a lot of, wait, we have to help them either declutter, downsize, whatever those things. And so some agents may say, that's too much.
right.
I'd rather just basically bow out and get the referral fee.
Yeah, and
And we'll
it's-
jump on it.
You do have. I have a team that I work with, like I said before, and
All the different
estate
specialists
sales,
that can help with it.
Yeah, and if they want to age in place, we have contractors that can come in, get it all set up.
And see, that's the interesting part, right? Age in place. We don't get compensated, for selling a home if we help them age in place, but it's the right thing to do. It's a value add. And we would much rather have the referral because we did the right thing than try to force a sale when it's not the right
You
thing.
go back to the relationship side of it, their family will recognize that.
Oh, yeah.
And it'll
It's also
come
the
back.
community part,
Well, and it's not
Honesty.
only that.
the honesty,
Yeah.
I'm
The
like going through the
excellence,
acronyms
it's all
here,
of
all
them.
those things.
You help them now, it's going to come back to you because as soon
Yeah.
as the parent passes away, who do you think they're going to call to sell the house?
Yeah, the person who got
Well,
information
it
from
goes
the
back to
family.
the ninja part. It goes back to a
Yeah.
lot of that concept, right? It's giving, it's leading with that, right? And
Right.
not being stingy with either your information, your resources, whatever.
Correct.
And so I love that. I love that you guys are bringing these values into the senior space and helping folks. And so, are you just helping folks in the immediate area? Talk about if someone says, "Hey, I'm listening to this. I do have some senior clients." Like, where are you operating with that?
Well, we would do here, but I can help them transfer. Like if
If they're here and they need to go to somewhere else.
We can
yes,
find
we
a
have
specialist, yeah.
national specialists that can help with that. And it all comes back to one of my favorite books, The Go Giver.
I love that book.
I love it.
And I think I would say that too, Reach Real Estate Solutions is what some would call a boutique, but we're very powerful. We're very connected. We have large networks.
Y'all are nationwide, like
Yeah.
relationship wise. So
Absolutely.
many people are
Relationships,
only
yeah.
the four boundaries of the parish or the state, but no, you guys have been. Not only are you licensed in multiple states, but you guys have so many relationships from
we know
whether it's the
people all
training
around.
side, the certification side.
Correct.
Obviously the different brokerages and the doing real estate in other states.
Yes.
That's huge. I love that.
Cool. Well, I appreciate y'all coming. This was
This
fun.
was
Thanks
a
for having
blast.
us.
Yeah,
This
I
was
think
fun.
I've enjoyed hearing all. Like, look,
Yeah,
I'm sitting here.
no.
I'm like, I didn't know that. Oh,
yeah, we have a lot more to learn about each other.
Always.
And I think that's a part about this relationship, right? Is now we've memorialized, some of this learning about each other, and that was fun. But I think the more you find out about people, you realize how special they are as human beings and what they are really bringing and what they're capable of that we may walk past on the street and go, oh, dude with long hair.
You get that a lot.
Right,
Man
but what is brought to the table, you
Yeah.
don't know until you get
the
face to
community
face.
part.
It's all about the relationships.
Yeah, this
and
was
all that.
awesome. Thanks for allowing us
Thanks
to be a
for
part
coming
of it.
on today, you guys. Appreciate it.